Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Cassidy. Cassidy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, Cassidy, I am excited for this conversation. It's going to be a ton of fun. I think a lot of people are going to relate to the subject, to be completely honest. Before we dive in, though, let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about your work history and your career and all that kind of fun stuff.
Like most marketers, I don't have a direct path to how I came to my role in leading marketing at a different tech company. So I actually started in sports marketing and sports operations. You know, those fun mascots that are out on the field during things. I got to do that. I no longer like the smell of Febreze. It is not something that's in my house. And from there, really progressed and found a different path and started in advertising, and then really found my stride in technology marketing because I like thinking about the tech and how does that all come together and make sense for our customers. I stayed at one company for a really long time, almost 12 years, which is not standard for a lot of marketing folks, but was able to really jump around. So it's been a fun career, and I love how marketing has changed over the last 10 years or so, 20 years.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Cassidy, this is the age-old problem when it comes to B2B content marketing. How do you make it fun, engaging, and yet relevant and timely? I feel like if I were to take like a guess, the vast majority of B2B content is evergreen because people have this hard time of making it really relevant today. So when we look at that subject, first and foremost, how do you make the content engaging? And then how do you also kind of tie that into the relevancy and stuff and like make it in your industry and relevant? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to even ask that question, but how do you make it fun and engaging and make sense today?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right? Like it's the time old problem that us as marketers have had, especially ever since the introduction of SEO and thinking through like, how do we make sure that Google can find us or Yahoo can find us, right? And for me, what I've found, and I think a lot of marketers miss sometimes, is really thinking about, well, I know my persona, I know who I'm talking to, but are you following them on LinkedIn? Are you following your customers, not the accounts, but the customers, to see how are they talking? What are they talking about? What are they interacting with? And what's of interest to them? And how do you connect that in different ways? None of us follow only one industry. We all interact in different places. And so to me, that's one of the fun ways of how do you bring content in different ways that allows for our customers. One time I was selling an estimating software, and we made it a murder mystery. Like, how do you find the details that you need in an estimating when you make an estimate, and how do you find along the path there? So those are some examples that, you just kind of have fun with it. Your customers get tired of the same things over and over too.
So how did that work with the murder mystery? Like,
Yeah.
how did they interact with that? Like, where did it come from? And what was like the actual consumer doing with the content?
Yeah. So it was standard ebook, but I have an amazing writer who I've been working with for probably 20 years, Julie Winthrow, and she really takes these ideas that we have and helps bring it to life. And so we were selling this software for contractors to uncover insights from previous estimates to help them win more bids. And she had this great idea to say, hey, this is really like a mystery or like a Sherlock Holmes kind of thing, finding those clues and how do you bring that along. And it actually won an award here in Colorado for the Marketing Association, but it brought the customers along on the journey and really helped them kind of think through things in a different way, which was a lot of fun. So,
I love that. That's so cool. So I love the creativity and making it more fun and engaging for people's actual personalities.
yeah.
One trend that I think may play a role in this is that B2B is obsessed with long form content. Why do you think that's the case? Should we worry about long form content as much? Should we make it shorter? How do we fix that to make it actually engaging?
Yeah, quite honestly, I think we're going to be forced to change. I think AI and agentic AI is going to force us to be thinking about how we write and how we create content for our customers in very different ways, right? We think about how we search ourselves when we're looking for a answer on something. A lot of times in my house, it's, hey, Google, tell me about X, Y, and Z. And our long form content is not designed for that. So as marketers, we really need to think about that. So I think the other piece that I would answer with that is there was a conference I went to 5 years ago, and it was the B2B marketing conference in Phoenix that I think lots of people love to go to anymore. But there was one session, and it's a session that's stayed with me for 5 years of thinking through, hey, how do we make content in the way that we scroll through and engage in different ways and make it snackable is the way that the person presented it. And to me, that's where we need to move towards, how do we help get the purpose across as quickly as possible? And B2B, we're not great at that. We think we need to have all these different words to really describe and be thoughtful and help make you understand how great our product is. And so we need to start moving towards these smaller snackable pieces of content because that's the way the industry and that's the way our customers are consuming information anymore.
I love that. So when you're talking about snackable content,
Yeah.
first thing comes to mind like TikTok video style. Is it purely video? Is it audio? Is it text? Is it a combination? Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the formats that actually could be used that are quote unquote snackable worthy?
So I think there's lots of different ways. I think, yes, it's video, it's audio, it's images. It still can be written text too, right? Like we think about our ebooks and we have, for example, and we have to get all the content and it needs to be a short PDF or a short document. But really, if we make it longer and we use more visuals to help tell the story, it actually makes it easier for our customers to understand. Benjamin, we were talking earlier about how our sellers never use the pieces of content that we create, right? One of those examples is we created an ebook at my previous company that took more of that concept of what's the visual, how do we tell it, and we had sellers taking screen snaps of the PDF to put in their presentations because they're like,
Mm,
yes, that helps tell the story that I need to tell in this way. Thinking about how do you expand the use of the content that you're creating outside of just the demand generation that we're doing.
love it. So engaging content in B2B, maybe rethink the long form content, make it snackable, make it short, make it engaging, be creative, murder mystery, that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the timely factor.
Yeah.
How do we make it relevant to today and engaging that way when honestly, like a lot of the news isn't that relevant always to our B2B brand? How do you make things relevant and timely?
Yeah, I think it a lot of times depends on your industry. So, construction or the industry I work in today, utilities, we have a lot of regulatory requirements like that come out. And so, how does our technology help our customers, for instance, meet those regulatory requirements and meeting that they need to do? I think understanding what's going on and taking advantage of that. We when we were talking, we talked about this idea of construction and how can they do a better job recruiting. So one of the ideas we took at one point was really saying how let's look at other industries that had to do something similar and solve this problem of a generational gap and not getting enough work in the workforce. And it came about of the army. Like think about when they came and they're like, hey, look at all the cool things you can do in the armed forces and look at all this technology you can use, and really thinking about that Minecraft generation and technology. And so it made a good transition for construction businesses to think about the same problem of how technology it's viewed as not being a technology forward industry. So how do you leverage technology to bring in those people who may not think about construction as a industry that they would want to go into?
Very cool. So finding relevant, adjacencies, things like that. I've heard the term newsjacking. Do you feel like that's relevant to B2B? And like, should we focus on that or how would that work in this
That's a
space
great
too?
question. Newsjacking to me, I'm not a huge fan of it. I feel like sometimes it can be like ambulance chasing of, hey, I'm just going to follow the next trend that's happening right now. Again, I think it really depends on your industry, right? Like if there are super relevant things that you need to be talking about for your clients to, or prospects to understand, or your customers, then sure, let's go ahead and be there. But I would put that more in our PR efforts versus how am I bringing that into the content that I'm bringing on my website? Is it generate, and part of it is, will it generate the right traffic for you and the right people? Or is it people who are already researching about this and somehow they land on your site because it was relevant at that moment in time?
Yeah, I love that. So now that we're creating more engaging content, it's shorter form, it's better content, it's more timely, it's creative, all that kind of stuff. B2B also kind of loves their blogs. And I think that's why long form content has existed for so long is people want to post their blog posts, like you said, SEO and things like
Yeah.
that. Do the distribution channels change a lot when we're starting to think about content in a different way? Are we using different channels, different ways of getting this content into our consumers' hands? How do you look and think about that?
Yeah, I think there's lots of really fun opportunities now. There's a lot of new technology. I think one area that B2B hasn't really thought about is SMS, and without being intrusive in the way that we interact with our clients and prospects. When we look at different mediums, I think you also have to consider a lot of the places that we post anymore are meant to try to keep people on those sites. And so, how do you create relevant content that is within the platforms that you're working on? And so, creating links within the comments or, within their news form or other places, and how do we build the content there, and being willing to give up that direct content on your own website, and leveraging it in the mediums that where your customers are living today is going to
Yeah,
be
I love that.
cool.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's such a big element here that these social platforms, groups like LinkedIn,
Yeah,
they've worked hard to amass this audience. They don't want them going anywhere. The longer they're on the platform, the more advertisements they can consume and the more money they can charge. Like they're
exactly.
never going to be that excited about pushing them somewhere else. So I love that.
Yeah.
Cassidy, these episodes go by so quick and we have run out of time today. If anyone would like to continue the conversation online and reach out and connect with you, how and where can they find you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Cassidy Gaertner there, but feel free, and we'll include a link, I'm sure, to my LinkedIn profile on the podcast.
Yep. Look at the show notes and you'll get a link to Cassidy's LinkedIn profile.
Awesome.
Cassidy, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was amazing. I really do appreciate the time and insights today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.